Welcome back to our channel, my dear family and friends, brothers and sisters. It's so nice to see you this evening. I think we're going to have just an amazing show tonight. Paul Rodriguez and Adrian are here I know them from the Republic, but they're just incredibly interesting, cool people. Adrian was nice enough to send me the Republic flag that's waving behind me now. And I think we're not exactly sure what we want to talk about. We wanted to mention watching the water, and Paul had some things about the water. I, of course, am trying to get people to try my X2O machine, which infuses light into water. Paul's machine filters through zeolite, which sounds really exciting. My beloved Daniela was saying, "Well, is it better than the candy machine?" I'm saying the Kangen, whatever machine. I said that's old school, man. We got all kinds of new technology now, but that's a separate story. Adrian also has some great stories to tell about abduction and UFOs, and we're seeing things coming together. We wanted to kind of talk about currency, about XRP, about silver. Silver went down a little bit today. I think it's a great buy. They're talking on July 4th. Some people are saying that silver and gold are going to be revalued. I kind of don't believe that that's the way things are going to happen. But one other comment regarding water came from Paul today, and I was talking to Paul about how we the people in this community, watching from UK. Jay, Murphy, that Paul mentioned that since the COVID thing, that we have had to go through. The people who are awake to the changes that are going on, have gone through incredible changes, but that in the near future, the rest of the world that are still basically sleepwalking and have no idea what's really going down, they will soon. But I mentioned this to Paul, and Paul said, "Yeah, it'll be like they'll be going through the same experience we went through, but like through a fire hose." That was Paul's comment, which I thought was pretty cool. But with that said, those are just the things that I just wanted to unleash upon the world. You guys step in and take it where you want to go.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. This is our first conspiracy show that we're doing with Ellie. We want to kind of show people out there that, there's all types of people in the Republic with various levels of truth, very diverse in our thinking. A lot of people refer to our type as 5D people, because we have went down rabbit holes that most people haven't gone down, and some of those rabbit holes we go down are not the greatest rabbit holes to go down. And so, tonight, I'm joined with Adrian, Adrian, you're the Connecticut SOS.
That's correct.
Yes. So she's from Connecticut, and her and I have become really good friends while I've been in the Republic. And I find her to be very interesting, and I asked her to join us on this first show. We have quite a few things that we do want to talk about, but also if anybody in the audience wants to comment on anything that you want to bring up, our shows are going to be up. They're going to be about anything we want to talk about. But we just want to show people that we're normal people, just like you out there. We just want our republic back, and we want our people in control. And so tonight we're just going to start this discussion off, and I'll let Adrian kind of introduce herself.
Sure. I live in Northwest Connecticut. 67 years old, and I love the great outdoors. I do live in a beautiful spot. A lot of water up here behind my house. A mile behind my house is 17 miles of reservoir. I have a really good well, thank God. Good water. People come up here to get my water when I have a group over. They just leave with jugs and jugs of water. It's delicious. So talk about being all sorts of people belonging to the Republic. Yeah, I'm an experiencer with UFOs, since childhood. So I've had quite a few experiences. I could probably talk for 3 hours straight, but I thought one I'd bring up was one of the most recent ones. Actually, it was last year, I believe. Because we're talking about 5D and the new Earth and all this. Now, mind you, my experiences that I'm allowed to remember, it's either the last 10 to 30, maybe 45 seconds. I get mind wiped. So, but I do remember the last bit. And this last one, I believe I was not in my regular physical body. I believe I was in a 5D body. My surroundings were pristine. They reminded me very much of, because of the height of the trees. Like if you've ever been to the East Coast, like Rhode Island, where everything seems to get scrunched down, that's how the trees were. They were in the distance on a shoreline of what I call a swamp, but the water was absolutely glass crystal clear. And to my right, if I look to the right, there's a lot of rock and beautiful water flowing out of it. And it looked to me like a 30-year-old growth system for whatever that means. And as I turned to go back to the ship, this is the position I was in. I was walking, but as if there was nothing below the knees. I was maneuvering through uh, brush, not prickers, but things like staghorn sumac and vines and anything you would see in an overgrowth, untouched, pristine uh, embankment of a swamp. So, but I was moving and maneuvering, but I wasn't walking. So I went, wow, this is weird. And I see this ship. It was not particularly huge. And the next thing I know, I'm on this ship and it was gigantic inside. I mean, monster big. And I'm either sitting and this being was super huge, or I was standing. I don't know. He's very tall, probably 9, 10 feet, let's say 9 feet tall. And I know I'd been on this ship before. I could see the huge panels. There's no place to sit. I could see the window. I could tell the size of the ship by the curvature of the window if it was round. It was massive. And it was a pretty busy box over there, but I looked at this being, and it's the only one I didn't draw a picture of yet. I really should. His skin was nearly white, almost a pale touch of blue. What really got me was his eyes. His eyes were much more elongated than ours, pointed at both ends. And it almost looked like, you ever see how the Egyptians have that mascara? Like lined? That was it. And he had very subtle features, very long fingers. I believe he had 3 fingers and a thumb, but I'm not sure. It was just, the last seconds. But he was looking at me, and he said, the new Earth will be considerably larger than this one. And I had before he spoke to me, I had this, I would call it considerable to a smartphone or a little tablet, and I could feel the rubberiness of it. But as soon as I looked at it, it went black. And I was like, darn, they did it again. They wouldn't let me consciously remember anything on it. So this being had, gosh, I'm trying to remember, underneath his smock-like outer covering was a tighter fitting suit, and it had silver from here and all the way down, like a large upside down triangle. And gosh, there's more details to it. I did write an email to somebody about specific colors and where there. I couldn't see any insignia or anything like that. So I kind of poked around and asked others, well, what do you think he meant by the new Earth will be considerably larger than this one? And they said, well, when you're in 5D, there's less gravity and things could expand. Or it could be, another one said, well, it could be a whole nother Earth, or it could be a place where 5D people go. But this place had no animals yet. It was just nature with no animals. I didn't even see a sun. It was just a pale sky. it was odd. So, there's only so much I can tell within a 30-second memory of this being. But I've had quite a few more. I think the most interesting one, whom I'd like to meet again. I have a picture of this one. I'll have to bring it next week. It's in my files. I wasn't really prepared. It was what I would call a grasshopper being. All right. And we were in a very small ship. I would compare it to a giant Volkswagen Bug because the windshield was very much like that, but really huge. Now, this being sitting next to me, I was looking at his profile side. Kind of freaked me out. The first thing I remember was I got in and I look at the floor. It's black, stippled, almost like a brand new car. And there's a Milky Way wrapper and beach sand on the floor of it, just a little bit. And I look out the window, and we are for sure at the edge of a beach, just about 10 or 15 feet higher than a street lamp. And there's four to five teenagers below. They didn't see us. And he had tipped the ship a little bit so I could see. Now, he had huge bug eyes. I can only see one, of course. The underside of his chin was very much like a turtle shell. I don't know how to describe it. Very plated, like plates. His mouth was very insect-like. That's what gave me the creepy willies. Because I thought, my God, I hope he doesn't bite me. Because it would really hurt. And it was just very strange. And he had this red feelers on, I'm assuming on both sides, but I can only see this side. Red feelers that were wiggling, and he was making this squishy sound. And he was wearing a brown smock, sleeveless. His legs were so long that his knees were, came up. Like I thought, this vehicle was not made for him or something. But his, I'll call them arms. I don't know what was at the end because there was these two holes in the, I'll call it the dash of this vehicle. And I thought, wow, that's how he must control it, by putting his arms in these holes. And I thought, so he looked at me and I looked at him, and I was increasing the creep value of his looks to the point of wanting to get out. And he said telepathically, "Are you enjoying the ride?" And I looked at him and I said telepathically back, "Yes." But he knew, he had this fatherly smile, and you could see it in his eyes. He was very kind, but he knew I was about to lose it. A bugs and a girl thing, okay? And I was completely, my memory stopped right there. I would like to meet him again. Apologize. I did spend time in my yard holding crickets and grasshoppers. I got over it. I had to. I look at them under a magnifying glass and looking at their mouth, going, "Okay, you're okay." It was the first time I had ever met anybody like that. But what's really awesome is, what the heck was this scientist's name? If I remember it, I'll spit it out. But he, at a very young age, that's how brilliant he was brought in to repair a ship that was damaged. And you did indeed control it by putting your hands in these two receptacle portals. And I learned that later on, and I went, oh my God. These are verifications that some experiencers can stumble across to verify that this knowledge that you've attained is now verified by somebody else. So I do like to share a lot of what I know, because if it wasn't for other people on radio and TV and reading all the books I have, it would be more difficult to verify these things. They're not dreams. This was real. I can't hear you, Paul.
I'm sorry. What's amazing about some of Adrian's stories is that she could really get into detail about some of these experiences. And she's actually goes back, back to her childhood, where she drew pictures of the beings and stuff that she encountered along her journey. And I think that so many people have actually experienced this. And so that's what I find interesting about her. I had an experience myself, and I'll get into that later. But go ahead, Adrian. I just want to let them know how special you are.
Yeah. You know, I've never seen the outside of a ship, but except for that one last one. But as far as in the sky and whatnot, I've seen some pretty odd things, but not an actual ship. But a few years back, right in my backyard, and if it wasn't for my dog, I would miss these things. She alerts me to so many things, be it things outside in my yard or beings in my house, spirit and whatnot. Must have been around 2 o'clock in the morning. And she was on the edge of my bed. And I have 2 windows in my bedroom that look over my backyard. It's all woods. It's a mile of woods to the reservoir. And I sat up and looked through the chiffon curtains, and there's a ball of light about 40, 45 feet away, maybe about 15 feet off the ground, between a huge trio of trees. There's an oak and a couple of oaks and a maple. And then it disappeared. And the ball of light was smaller than a volleyball, but I think I don't know. It was hard to tell, but very bright. But you can see a little bit of a glow on the bark, and it disappeared. So I got out of bed, and I said, "Do it again." I was leaning out the window, like howdy, and it came back, and it did it again. There was a ball of light, and was it the third time? I said, "Do it again." And then it turned into a quasar. This quasar showed up. It was huge, much bigger than this ball of light. By quasar, I mean, in the old days when you'd shut off your TV, you'd see that bright 4-pointed star. It was like, this one was maybe 3.5, 4 feet up and maybe 4.5, 5 feet wide. And it just imploded on itself. And I went, wow, that was cool. It didn't come back. I got my bird binoculars and I was looking around for a while. It didn't come back. But that was one heck of a strange visitation. I don't know why they showed up. The black helicopters did show up the next morning. Is it the black ones or a military one? Oh, this was a military one, unmarked, and yeah, it came through, like over the reservoir, through the woods, tree level. It was mid-morning, and I could hear it long before it arrived. It was vibrating the ground, and it was a rumble like you wouldn't believe. And when it finally came into sight, I thought my foundation was going to crack and my windows were going to break. And I thought all the animals were going to come flying out of the woods like Jumanji. No, I mean, it was, they shouldn't do that because I think it could really damage my house. So I don't know who that was. But these things that show up, they leave a signature. Because this isn't the first time I've had things show up around, near, or in the distance that I could see where helicopters show up. And I don't know what kind of a signature they leave, but they know they're there and they know where they go. Yeah.
No, and it seems like some people are chosen, some people, they follow the bloodlines or whatever, it's hard to say exactly what that is. But some people experience it more than others. Ellie, have you ever had an experience like that?
I'm not sure. I'm not that I do, consciously remember, but it's fascinating how certain people are chosen to have these experiences. We're very open to that out here, and we're in the middle of nowhere, so it would be very easy for beings to make contact with it. I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen anything. I mean, the most interesting thing to me is that we see sort of like openings in the rock formation sometimes, and I can never find those, like the openings sort of come and go. It reminded me that when I lived in Tennessee, I lived in Middle Tennessee for several years. That I lived near some Indian some supposed burial mounds, and I I'm a very curious person. I'm a I consider I like to research strange things, and I'm not judgmental about this as to whether these things are real or not. But similar to these openings in the rocks that I see that come and go, I was absolutely, and it was not for lack of trying, unable to reach these mounds, which appeared to be they looked very clear. You'd see them from the road, you'd see them. I lived in the woods, so I was like across the stream from one of these burial mounds, and I would just, I would go across the stream and walk for miles and never be able to get there. So it seems to me like I'm permitted to kind of see these things, but they don't seem to want me to get too close.
That's bizarre. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to do some deep thinking to come up with an explanation for that. There's a lot of power spots. I lived at one place, about maybe 15 miles from here, up near a lake called Hill Lake, and that place was definitely on some kind of ley line. The activity up there was insane. I had so many things show up there. This was back in the 90s. I lived there for 10 years. I had missing time, missing embryos, little beings in my room. Um, just crazy, crazy things. I could tell you some detailed stories about that. Um, I could go on and on and on. A lot of people don't remember their experiences. I've had some that were painful. Um, and you kind of get a memory flashback when you see a TV show that describes the exact same thing. Like you're on a metal table, the lights are bright white, you can't move. There's long arms, moving around. And you can see them through the tracers. You ever get spotted by a steady or something behind your car at night where you can't see, but you can see the light? That's very much like the light when I was on this one table, and every cell in my body hurt. I mean, every cell. I thought, what are they trying to do? Like, see how much pain I could take before I die? And and I think the being off, even though I couldn't turn my head, I have pretty good peripheral vision. And this being, which I thought was female, she took her long arm in hand and went over my forehead, and boom, it was lights out. And I met another person who also experienced that kind of pain, but they were abducted out of their car because they said every cell hurt. So I thought, oh, well, maybe I was getting transported back to wherever. And the weird thing about that experience, this will make you laugh, I could see my feet. I had on these gigantic, I'll call them the ankle high basketball sneakers, like the old Converse white sneakers that were way too big for my feet. They were just slipped on there. They might do that just to keep your feet warm. Humans. Yeah.
Interesting. I did have a table experience when I was young, where I was on a metal table that had very painful metal projections coming out of it, and I was laying on the table, and I was being hurt, and I couldn't. It was very hard for me to wake up from that experience. Like my parent, I was screaming. We were on vacation somewhere, and I had this vision of this thing. But there are a lot of things that are inexplicable. I saw a clip today, which I could play. Where they're talking about the Anunnaki, how they feed off our negative emotions, and they design things before you're even born. They design certain fears or certain experiences for you so that they can harvest your emotional energy. I think there's a whole another layer of understanding that we're going to come to with this disclosure. I mean, does it seem like we're coming up to a disclosure event? I mean, it seems, I'm seeing all these pictures of President Trump with these Nordics with the blonde hair. Um, and people, it seems to be that these are not beings, that the beings we're seeing are not necessarily from other galaxies, that they might be right here with us. I don't know. It's very interesting that you had all these experiences.
Yeah, I think that a lot of we've been on this truth journey for so long, and they've shown us a lot of things in movies, and now you have to question, is that they have to tell us before they do it, kind of thing. I think that we'll always keep learning, and we'll always keep striving for the truth, and Tartaria is one of those subjects that's starting to hit the public. And I think Russia, Putin came out with some information about Tartaria recently, and supposedly Melania Trump is a Tartarian princess. And I mean, the stories go so deep, but yet our true history has been hidden. So much information under the Vatican has been confiscated. Some of these museums, so much information, and I'm sure items that have been hidden from us because they don't want us to know the truth for whatever reason. Were we reset at one time? Possibility. But it's sad that we can't have that history, because I think that's what we all want, is we want to know the truth.
I do. I want that knowledge. I want a book. Somebody please give me the book with the correct information. When we went into Baghdad, there's nothing in Baghdad. There's a museum.
Yeah.
We created that museum.
Was there a giant that was protecting a Stargate there? We've got stories that our soldiers went in there and was surprised by a giant, and we lost men in that battle, and apparently they overcome the giant, and they brought him back, a red-haired giant.
What really concerns me, though, is this is from one of my experiences, and I actually had this verified by two other investigators who would not elaborate and would not reply to any more of my questions, but their acknowledgement was there. I believe I was on Mars in a building. They took this crystal that I had gotten from, somebody brought back for me from Sedona, Arizona, which I had actually one super crazy experience. I had a being show up. It was one of the gods. That story is very long. I'm not going to take up your show with it. But anyways, all my crystals ended up on this table in this small room that I was locked in with two other people, an older sister and a younger brother. And she was trying to push her brother up out the window. It was almost like a trailer window, the kind that flip out. But it was really red out there, the sand or whatever. It wasn't an earth sky. I didn't appear to be Earth. So I said, I'm getting out of here, I thought. And I went to open the door. Immediately, there is a cyborg. And I'm talking, this thing is female. It was like a ninja to the 10th power on steroids. You cannot be faster than this thing. This is a scary thing. This is what was verified by two other investigators. It leaped, shot me in the right temple with, I'll call it a ray gun, okay? And I could feel it meld into my head. And the last thing I remember thinking was, I'm going down. I remember starting to go down. And two other people have had experiences of being shot in the temple with this invisible ray. But this thing just went, target, done, gone. It already knew I was trying to get out. and it was there. And they use females a lot. This had a full body two-tone blue suit. I'll call it bodysuit. The actual what I got shot with was also two tones of dark and light blue, but it had some kind of, I'll call it a helmet or headpiece, but a visor. You can see the eyes. The eyes were real and they were female. I just knew it was a female, and I heard they use them because they have ESP more accentuated on average than men. So thinking about, and I've seen now on other shows or whatever about these scary cyborg undefeatable armies. They show basement wherever undergrounds, with hundreds or thousands of them. I'm thinking, damn, if that's true, we're in trouble because they're fast and they're accurate.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think that possibly the white hats have saved us from the negative type entities that exist to me out there. I believe in it. But there's so much to the fact that what Ellie was mentioning about, this is a loosh farm to me. And the loosh farm is really where these archons live. They live in a realm where that's what they need, is this negative loosh. And they use things like fear and those lower vibrations from humans to get that loosh. And that's really, when it really boils down to it, maybe that's what we are fighting. We're fighting the spark inside of us, which is the God spark inside of us. And the more that God spark inside of us can amplify, the less power these archons have on our ability, on us, on the things that we are weak. Fear, anger, and that love frequency inside of us is that source frequency that nothing can touch. That when you completely amplify that in your being, and that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to amplify my internal light, and I think that's something that people can learn from, is understanding this archonic nature of this world. If we truly live in a frequency and vibration and energy realm, Tesla said, if you want to understand the world, look at it as energy, frequency, and vibration. And so the more we try to focus on that and try to understand that, the more those archons are going to try to attack us, because that may be the truth. They don't want us to know that. You know
what I find interesting, Paul and Ellie? Children. What child has not had a nightmare? What child has not been tortured night after night? I've helped a few, actually help them help themselves. But they say we grow out of it. No, maybe they are favored because they're so innocent and their terror is so intense. But as we get older, they can't do that to us. So we lose the nightmare.
Well, yeah, imagine a child is so connected to the source. They're the purest thing that's connected to the source. So if these archonics are actually the enemy, how else to get back at the source?
Well, they're the easiest to scare.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, we all have a journey, a truth journey that we're on, and we're all at different levels of that truth journey. And I don't think it's a bad thing to ever question anything. I think that's what our Father, or the source, however you refer to it. I'm Native American. We refer to it as the great grandfather. So when it all boils down to it, it's the same source. I tell people that, if I love my partner, that frequency is the same as if you love your partner. There's no difference in frequency. Love is love, and so if we can get down to that, and I truly think that's where, and I'll refer to him as my father, because I've done that, as that's what he wants. It's really the answer. When we ask him what's with all these rules, he's going to say, I didn't have no rules. I just said love. I just wanted you to love each other.
Mhm. And the
Yeah.
opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is fear.
Right. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I'm going to give people a little quick hint. I'm not going to tell you the story behind this, but I defeated this blacker than black demon, and then it went after my father because it couldn't get to me anymore. My father didn't believe me. Then he did. Um, I was so terrified by this thing that almost killed me. God saved me. It was the only thing I could do was think and to God to save me. And there's a long story behind that one too. But because of that, I was now even afraid of the daylight. This thing just instilled terror in me. So just to go through the threshold of a doorway was an immense task. And before the day was out, I figured this is no way to live. I can't live like this. And I thought at age 10, I had to deal with this because my parents didn't believe me, right? Because he didn't get attacked till later on. I had a German Shepherd, but I didn't. I told my father I was going out for a walk. It was night. I lived in a neighborhood with no street lights. He goes, "You got to take the dog?" I said, "Nope." I was barefoot, no flashlight, no dog. And I was terrified. And I was going to walk out into the darkness and keep walking till I wasn't afraid anymore. It was the hardest thing I ever did. And I kept walking until I wasn't afraid anymore. And it worked. I wasn't afraid. And went right back home. Thing never bothered me again. That's when my father got attacked by a boy. Was he scared? And he's a cop. He was a policeman. He wasn't afraid of much. But someday I'll have to tell that whole story when we get to the spiritual side. It's yeah, it's a long story.
Yeah.
But that's you face your fears. Face your fears.
Yeah. I think
I,
that's. Go ahead,
yo,
Edwin.
no, go ahead. No, I think a lot of this is us remembering. They talk a lot about remembrance, that we're remembering what it was like to live in Tartaria. We're remembering what it's like to live at peace. And I think that when like the one thing I would say that is consistent about my journey is that from an early age I was conscious of that I was conscious, that I was thinking about, that I was thinking thoughts and knowing that I was thinking. And the the kinds of thoughts that I had as a child were just now I look back at them as just stunning. Just the world and the imagination of a child is just so beautiful. And then I had the experience of going to a very bourgeois kind of school, like near Connecticut. I mean, I grew up in Westchester, and we went to, my parents, for some reason, settled in this town called Scarsdale. And we had actually been there for several generations. But I went to the school, and in the school were a lot of people from very successful parents, and the mindset was devastating. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was just crippling. And I think a lot of so now I'm living off grid. I'm living in my own land. I don't have, we don't have this kind of pressure, or like, we don't live with rules. But um a gentleman came up here and he said, I want to leave the Matrix. I want to live with you guys. And he's living with us now. And he said from the beginning, he says, now we can be like two kids in a sandbox. And that's how we live our lives. We build things all day. But it's just I think we're remembering our childhood. We're coming back into a kind of an innocence that was stolen from us by these Archon creeps. I watched this video. I could play, maybe let me play just a moment of this video, because I think because what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling about Adrian and Paul coming with this kind of information at this time is that we're reaching against a kind of um a a wall of information and censorship and indoctrination, and we're all about to move across this wall. We're all butting against it. But the more information we have about the big picture, about these archons, about the loosh farming, about these beings that. So I'm going to play just a little clip of this film because I think it's interesting and it's important that we understand, try to formulate a big picture like I think Adrian was saying. I just would love to know the history. I mean, we have to figure it out intuitively because Lester David Straight, I went to a meeting of, he said, you can't find a history book before 1900. They don't exist. They're all the whole history has been completely. We have no idea. So let me just play this short clip and see what you guys think of this. Let's see if I can find this. Oh, I will have to. Let's see if I. Okay, let me just find this clip. Well, this is. There's a clip about. Yeah, let me play this clip. I'm gonna go to. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to go to here.
War with weapons, but a war of energy. The text describes a conflict with another group of beings, referred to only as those who dwell in the outer darkness. These beings existed in a frequency range that the Anunnaki couldn't access. They were starving the Anunnaki of resources, specifically the resources tied to consciousness energy. The Anunnaki had built an empire across multiple star systems, but their technology, their entire civilization, ran on harvested consciousness frequency. And the outer darkness beings were systematically cutting off their supply. So the Anunnaki came to Earth, not because Earth was special, but because it was remote, far enough from the conflict that they could build a containment system without interference. The tablet describes Earth as the hidden farm, a place where consciousness could be cycled indefinitely, generating energy with each reset, completely isolated from outside intervention. Humans weren't created to worship the gods. Humans were created to power them. The tablet is very specific about this. It uses the Sumerian term Lu Kig to Ji for A, which translates to worker made to return. Not worshipper, not servant, worker. A biological machine engineered to generate the one resource the Anunnaki couldn't synthesize, consciousness energy derived from emotional experience. Code 5 describes the selection process. Not everyone gets reset the same way. The tablet divides human consciousness into 3 categories. The first category, those with strong knowing, refers to people who retain too much awareness between cycles. These consciousnesses were flagged as risks. The system couldn't fully wipe them, so instead they were eroded into what the tablet calls the slow path, a series of lifetimes designed to break their memory through repeated trauma. The tablet doesn't describe this as punishment, it describes it as correction. If a consciousness remembers too much, it might resist the next reset. So the system deliberately programs traumatic life circumstances to fracture that awareness. The second category, those who flow easily, refers to the majority of humanity. These consciousnesses accepted the reset without resistance and were cycled back into new bodies almost immediately. The tablet describes this as the ideal state from the Anunnaki perspective. No memory fragments, no resistance, just smooth, efficient recycling that generates maximum emotional frequency with minimum system strain. The third category, those who refused the light, were the ones who somehow avoided the beacon entirely. The tablet describes these as the ones who scatter, consciousnesses that escape the containment field. But here's the problem. The tablet also describes a failsafe. If a consciousness refused the light, the system activated what the text calls the second lure, a personalized projection designed to exploit the emotional bonds from the previous life. Dead relatives, lost loved ones, spiritual guides, all of them projected illusions pulling you back toward the reset station. Code 6 describes the memory insertion process. After the wipe, consciousness doesn't return to Earth as a blank slate. The Anunnaki preloads certain emotional triggers, fears, desires, traumas that weren't earned in the upcoming life but were carried over from the archive. This explains why some people are born with inexplicable phobias or attractions. It's not past life memory bleeding through, it's intentional programming. The tablet describes this as the weight that ensures return, a set of emotional anchors that make it nearly impossible for consciousness to break free on its own. You're not just living a new life. You're living a life that's been pre-configured to keep you trapped. But the insertion process serves another purpose. The Anunnaki discovered early on that consciousness without challenge produces weak emotional frequency. Suffering generates stronger energy than contentment. So they program conflicts into each life before it even started at insertion phase. A fear of abandonment that sabotages relationships. An attraction to unavailable partners. A self-destructive impulse that undermines success. These aren't random psychological quirks. According to the tablet, they're installed during the insertion phase specifically to ensure maximum emotional intensity. The system doesn't want you to be happy. It wants you to feel. And pain makes you feel more than anything else. Code 7 is the population threshold. This is where the tablet gets distorted.
Okay, so I guess that's all we're going to get, but it's fascinating to think, and I think it's the main thing of this kind of information is that it's important for us to break the molds that we were given. Like Paul and I often talk about religious dogma, about certain things being considered good and bad and evil, and all these kind of program things. So I think it's really important for us to break any molds. It's kind of like I think it was you were talking about the people who know something are really, really out there. They're just I always say, like, like if I was normal, it would, like, that normalcy is a sickness, that accepting everything as it is insane.
Right.
Is insane. And if you're not insane, you're really insane. I think that's how I put it.
I mean, I think it's they indoctrinate people not to question stuff, and I think when people start to hear some of the things that we talk about, their nervous system starts to freak out because it's bumping up against that foundational indoctrination that those archons are saying, no, don't don't go down that road. So we've got a battle, and I do think that it is a spiritual battle. And I could see the loose thing tie in, because what if the light of the source is not in these archonic beings, and so they need that negative energy? That's how they battery up. That's how they charge up. They don't have a light source, so they need the opposite. But I think there's so many things that we can talk about, and I think we should continue. I don't think that we should leave anything off the table. And I also don't think that people should think that they have the truth. I think in my journey, there's so many times where I'm like, somebody will tell me something, I'm like, oh shit, I got to swap out my little piece of the puzzle for their little piece because my piece was wrong. And it made sense when they said something, and I resonate with it. And it was like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? And it keeps helping us build this 5-dimensional puzzle of the truth, but that's what they don't want us to do. They don't want us to question things. They want us, they want us to rely on them for the truth. The Rothschilds, with the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, this is our school system and this is how it is. No. So I don't think it's a bad thing who we are, but I also think we always have to respect what everybody's belief is and their understanding, and accept it. We want to debate things. We want to know more about Tartaria. We want to know more about our history. If we were a reset, I want to know about it, so there's so many things. Go ahead.
Yeah, at the beginning of this video clip, I found interesting. Whoever was speaking said they were starving the Anunnaki. Who was they? And why were they starving them? Obviously, they were going through the same thing we're experiencing here on Earth,
Yeah.
but I don't know who they are. There's others out there who finally defeated them, I guess, and the Anunnaki had to leave because they
Or
wouldn't
did they go
survive.
in the ground? Did they go in inner Earth?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out who they is. It made in my mind sound like they traveled interstellarly and came to the outskirts in a remote planet like Earth.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded.
I kind of have been searching. From what I understand, it's like their planet got a hole in it, and they needed this gold to be able to fill that hole. So they found Earth, and that's what they came here for, to mine that gold, because we're rich in gold. And they took it back and healed their atmosphere. You know, could
That's
be.
the Zachariah Stitchin
Yeah.
thing. I've also heard that the Galactics allowed the Anunnaki to come here in order to trap them in a distant part of the galaxies of the universe, so that they could eventually destroy them. But uh, the Ten Commandments starts with the word Anochi. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just it's it's just weird.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that we start to really question in just to question the you're seeing it. We're seeing the destruction of this mindset, of this perverse, like you said, Rockefeller, Orsini, 13 bloodline family, mafioso, Ndrangheta, this whole blanket of a kind of a unified tyrannical thought stream that the bankers and the teachers and the big pharmacy and the media, and they're all, and it's hard for regular people to put these things together, to
Yeah.
say, well, the media and big pharma, that's like, what, they don't even know. They're run by it's the same mafia. The Ndrangheta have this a section of the mafia have apparently an organization of like 100 guys that this is all just hearsay, that don't know each other. They don't know their names, but these 100 guys control the entire political apparatus on the planet.
Right. It is. It is.
Q told us to watch Godfather 3
Right.
because the Vatican, like you said, the Vatican, Washington, City of London, these three centers. I remember hearing about this early in my journey of Q, of like, well, what's this about the three cities? But it's all these things are kind of putting things together, I think, and it's a fascinating time to be alive with the information we're receiving. Sorry about my let me just
Yeah. With all that's going on and all we're faced with, I just wanted to share that my biggest inner strength is inner joy, not happiness. It's inner joy that nobody can take away from me, no matter what they do.
That's right.
I try to describe it to people as if somebody came here and killed me. My bird died of starvation, my dog, and they all turned to dust on the floor. It's like, it's okay. It's all right. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I think that's good advice for what we're dealing with today, is that peace is found inside. That's really how you get rid of all this, is you go inside, and that's where you do find your peace and the calmness, and that I meditate, and I find a lot of solace. I go out and ground myself, so I do a lot of things like that to help me. But I think that's kind of what's needed. It's for people that are not awake right now. It's really traumatic. I was with some friends the other last night, I think it was. We were having a few drinks, and this guy walks over to us, and he was about probably 75, very intelligent person, had money, and he came over, and he's seen us before there, and he came over and he was talking about Michelle Obama, and he's like, "Do you guys really think that Michelle Obama is a male?" And we're like, all three of us are looking at him
Hell
like,
yeah.
yeah. What world do you live in? But it shows you how so many people are just like way out of it, and we can't be afraid of that. So again, and the Republic has so many people like Ellie and Adrian and myself, and we need more of these people in here to know that you're with good people, and we're thinkers. We love people. We care about people. We care about this world, and we care about the truth. And I think that's what this show is going to be about. Is let's touch on those subjects that most people won't even look at, or turn their head against it, And that's where we want to drive this show. Do we have more time, Ellie, or are we still on?
Yeah, I mean, it's early for me. You got me early.
Good.
My partner's delighted because I'm always going so late, and it's too late to do anything. But yeah, it's still bright here. I think the Republic is the umbrella where we all come together under this umbrella. When Nancy, I heard about this through Nancy Singletary, and I was like saying, I just said to myself, that's it. It's the Republic, because that will unify us. Whatever our history is, whoever we really are, if we were all Cabbage Patch Kids, I don't know. I mean,
now, did the Cabbage Patch Kids come from Tartaria?
Right. Yeah, exactly. They had all these train full of kids that had no parents. I mean,
right.
To re-inhabit these beautiful buildings. They have all these pictures where there are no people. There are these, and let me just show you quickly this film. I'm in no rush. I mean, I love to exchange ideas. If you guys
I think the podcast is great. I think I love the subject. We completely disregarded our agenda.
Which is fine. I think people are, that's how they constrict us. That's how they control us, by saying, "Oh, well, you're off topic." It's like, well, hell yeah, I'm off topic because I have a brain, and my brain is constantly searching for other, it's like I'm not still, memorizing multiplication tables all day long. I don't do that. I mean, it's like, I'm glad I did do that at some point in my life, but there's and that's the idea of the multiverse. And there was a great sage, a Jewish sage named the Baal Shem Tov, and he said, wherever you're thinking about, you're actually there. You're physically there. So you can go in your mind. You can, we're not limited to, okay, I'm a school teacher and I go to work every day, and that's what they want you to believe. But none of that is even close to the truth. Yeah, the Republic is a great thing. Let me just show you quickly this clip, because it's really, you'll see it. It's really well produced. Let me just play this one thing. Okay, I have to do this in a slightly different way. Let's see if I can find it first. It was just a marvelous.
It says the Anunnaki.
No, not that clip. Let me see if I can find this. No, where is this? It was just so trippy. Let's see. Let me. Okay, let me. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Let me try this a slightly different way. Since I'm on this, let's see if we can do this. So much information is coming out now about all different things. It is just so fascinating. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this clip, but there's a clip on here. about Tartaria that is, let's see if I can find, let me just try one more second.
Now, what I heard about Tartaria is that was really a civilization that came from Atlantis.
Right.
And they had free energy and everything Atlantis did, you know. And it was destroyed by the Cabal, Guru, or lizards. I have worse names for them, but you know, it's the same 13 families. It's the same the evil that's in this, that controls this world.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Okay, so let me just play a bit of this clip because it gives you a picture of where we may have come from, and that transcends intellect. Let me. I have to go back. Let's see if I can do this correctly. Okay, here we go.
Wow, they look like Venice on steroids. It's
Yeah.
a water world.
Let me yeah, okay, so it's off. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, it really it goes so far beyond our intellect. Our, you know, we've been so tortured by these by this sort of duality thinking, like, okay, that's good, that's bad, that's black, that's white. And we're coming into an age where all the walls are in, even in our thinking, are breaking down, and we're going to be doing like what my friend James says, is like we're just two kids playing in a sandbox. We're living in a reality. And to add to what Paul was saying about, and Adrian was saying about the idea of joy, like somebody could be screaming their head off and screaming at you and calling you a whatever, and you could be inside your joy, you know, inside your heart space, feeling incredible bliss.
Right.
yeah, and I think we need to really train ourselves. And I think it really follows conscious dedication to an ideal. Like for example, I have trained my body so that I cannot slam a car door when I don't have the keys in my hand. I am not capable. I will not close a door until I consciously feel, and that's because I used to lock myself out all the time. So I train myself, and I think we need to train ourselves to go into the bliss space. If things don't seem to be working out at that in that particular moment, it's just like, wow, man, I got to bliss out for a minute. I know you hate me and you're yelling at me and all this other stuff, but I want to feel I'm not interested in that particular movie. I want to create my own space in that time, in that moment to bliss out, man. Whatever.
Or
What
is
would you do if you were not distracted?
is that kind of the way? Maybe one of the things that we're trying to learn is, that we're really not these avatars. We're the light within, and we need to move ourselves up and observe us and observe our thoughts, but not be our thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think the key to it all is metacognition, is to, once you understand that you're thinking about your thinking,
Right.
and that opens up all the doors to the universe.
That's my favorite hobby, thinking. I used to get notes written home from school when I was little, first grade, second grade. She's not paying attention. I don't even hear my name called. When you said when that rabbi said all you have to do is think and you go.
Right. That's when you were on the ship.
No, I mean, I can remote view like that. If I'm doing a reading for somebody or something, I can go right to their house.
Yeah.
I said, your grandmother right now is cooking beef stew. She said, oh my God, she is. I said, well, I can smell it, and it's like, you just go. And that's how powerful your mind is.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. And that's probably where we're going to get to eventually as we ascend, as our consciousness ascends, we'll be able to go anywhere. I could pop right into Ellie's RV. Yo, Ellie.
Not sure. It's pretty squishy in here, but we are creating. I mean, I'm building this building behind me without any plans or without any inspectors, and my friend James is building a chicken coop. He's just he's on the same level as me. He's just like, if we have sort of agreed to disagree about building things. So he's like, you do your thing and I'll do. We don't. Neither of us like to be told, well, you should do it this way, because we are like children and we want to create spontaneously. And if the inspector, I'm building now a roof on my little studio. I've created this little triangle shaped studio on the second floor that I'll be using very soon, because I'm building a roof now. So very shortly, instead of seeing like kind of distant mountains, you will be seeing, hopefully, very, very clear. The view from the second floor is stunning, and I've designed a space so that I can. It's all windows, which is what I like to do. I like to broadcast with, before you guys knew me, I was broadcasting in New York City, and I had the ocean behind me, and that was my joy, was to. But it's very hard to do the lighting with that, because the camera doesn't want to focus on the background. It just wants to focus on so in order to overcome that, you would have to, they say in like photographic things, they say you would have to have like the sun, you would have to have the sunshine right inside, so that the camera will focus both on your face and the outside. So I've designed this little triangular shaped room that has gigantic windows. It's a tiny little room, but it has gigantic windows on both sides of the triangle, with the idea is that the literally the western sky, the sunshine, which in Arizona is incredibly intense, will shine on my face and the background will be behind me. So I've created this ideal photograph. Whether it'll actually work, I have no idea. But this is the theory that I'm working on, is that I will literally be bathed in the setting sun, so that you'll be able to see both my face and behind me. But this is the kind of creative impulse, and James is now, he's this is the real world. I'm like, James, what, we decided to have chickens, so we don't just go out and buy chickens. He's been studying this for years, and he bought a certain female hen, and then he's going to buy these Omani. They're like these black chickens, but he says the eggs are great and they have a certain color and a personality. And so we're creating an environment up here with these like genetically cloned, these genetically not cloned, but we're creating our own breed of chickens up here. He's creating gardens like you can't even imagine the kind of fruits and vegetables we'll be eating up here. We're not afraid to grow cannabis, for example. We had there was a person who wanted to come up here, and she said she wanted to have cannabis. So I don't partake of drugs or alcohol, because I'm an alcoholic and I'm a drug addict, so I don't do it. But I don't mind. I love to grow things, and I love, and this is the, like when I was a school teacher, I'd be like, I was a chemistry teacher, and I'm talking to kids from the hood, and I'm like, they can't relate to what I'm talking. They've no, I'm talking about the orbitals and I'm saying, like, why don't we teach them about, they're interested in cannabis. Why don't I teach them how to grow cannabis, how to breed, but this is what we're coming into, an age where, like Elon says, you don't need schools. We don't need to be indoctrinated. We don't need to learn how to stand in line. We need to learn how to indulge our imaginations and create things that are unbelievable. And that's probably what Tartary was about. You saw the floating buildings and everything else. I mean, who knows what we're capable of?
Ellie, you brought up a beautiful point early on in the conversation when you were talking about building the chicken coop. And instead of trying to interject your thoughts, because I can be pretty bossy, I've morphed. But you have to realize that you ask, would you like some advice on how to do that? And if they say no, let it go. Let them play. If they want to make their own mistakes or their own triumphs, let them. And that's how you learn. And that's how you let people develop their own creativity instead of forcing structure. I'm sure you had some good advice, but they don't have to accept it. It's okay. See, the freedom we've been so used to, there's a right way and a wrong way. No, there's more than one way to spell a word, So it sounds like a wonderful thing you have going on up there. Speaking of chickens, I wanted to tell you, I just learned something about ducks. They live longer. Their eggs are bigger and a little bit more nutritious. And they lay for 3 to 5 years instead of 2 to 3 years, like a chicken.
Yeah.
I'll add
another. Go ahead.
Ducks are the goofiest, most pleasurable animals to be around. They're so silly. I love being around ducks.
Mm-hmm.
I have a suggestion for you. I watched a video recently, and believe me, the chicken looked like he was happy, but the guy attached him to a drone, and then the drone took off and was flying the chicken around. So maybe you could have like drone chicken races, up there.
Tartarian chicken lifting, our chicken coop could be floating.
Right.
Anything's possible. Who knows what's possible?
Yeah. Well, at least you're out there doing it, bro. You're doing your own thing. You're really waking a lot of people up. And I think you're a great teacher of things. You know, your mind's all over, and I think that's a good thing. You know, so
Yeah, and it's going to happen with the Republic too, because that's the door you're looking for. It's going to
Yeah.
open up all these possibilities and probabilities,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm just overjoyed. Just freedom.
I mean, I've met so many cool people in the Republic. That's what's neat about it. I've lived an isolated life because of the things that I've been through and the things that I questioned my whole life. But when I came to the Republic, I met people like Adrian and Ellie and so many people of like minds and the same thoughts. And we call this 5D. So I think that is the next generation is the 5D people, bringing the heaven to earth kind of thing, you know, through us.
I mean, yeah, it's you know, it was so much fun. Yeah, we'll do this next week, but it's really fun, and that's why I love broadcasting because I'm not. It's just, you know, I mean, somebody told me in the beginning. He says you got to plan it, you got to know what you're going to say. You're going to like. I don't do any of that stuff. I just want it to flow, and I want to teach people how to be in their own flow. So you know, it's kind of like I'm teaching by example, maybe. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, because people told me, "Oh, you should write a book." I'm like, nah, it's just not for me. You know.
Well, I actually got a degree in creative writing. I went to writing school and I wrote some books. And my conclusion after writing books for a couple of years was like, I want to live my life. I don't want to write about my life. I want to live my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
And
have
you're
shared a
doing,
lot of
yeah.
what I've experienced on other talk stream lives and whatnot. So if they want to know more, they can go tune in somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
I just can't take the time to write. I do love
Right.
words. I love words.
It's very lonely. But Danielle is saying to Paul that you just give us a little bit of background on your water thing, and I'll talk about my water thing, and then you know that way we'll have also a
Little education.
of education, and also that there's nothing wrong with making a living. I mean, I've been blackballed for, I guess that's the word. I've been, canceled by, I lost my job, I lost my YouTube channel, but
Wow.
and in this creative space we can also pick things like your zeolite thing is a very creative response to a tyrannical depopulation event with the water, with the fluoride
Right.
and all this other stuff. So
Right.
I'm gonna put on your this your that I'm putting on this, that if you
That,
want to contact Paul about this zeolite system, and maybe you just, I know, maybe in other things we'll watch some videos, but could you
yeah.
just tell us a little bit about this thing you're involved with?
Yeah. So we have a co-op here in Colorado that I'm involved with, and it's based on zeolite, which is uh, mined in Mexico, and it's shipped up. It's shipped out of Mexico. It does a lot for farmlands to bring the bad stuff out of the farmlands, and it's we also have filtration systems that are for house personal use, cheaper than most, that are charcoal filters, and they do they filter better than anything out there. It's actually 100 almost 100% zeolite, um, and it takes out the fluoride, all the evil things right now that are in our public water systems. It's used in medicines and stuff that people take. They do take zeolite. There's some things are made out of zeolite that are good for you. But we do have filtration systems that are for the house as well as for your pump. Bigger tanks that we have. We've actually shipped some out to North Carolina when they needed water, fresh water, and so we've the Republic has shipped out tanks to North Carolina to help them. But it's a real thing. They've been trying to destroy our pineal glands, and they do it in different ways. Fluoride is one of those ways. that they've been doing for so long, that they've been putting in our water systems and still are. But for $2,500, you can get a good zeolite filter, as opposed to $5,000 or $8,000 for most filtration systems. So that's just what I wanted to let you guys know, is we do want to fight these criminals. They've attacked us in so many ways. Water is just one of those ways. But we can fight back, and knowledge is that way we fight back, until these problems can be remediated, either whether the Republic comes back in and we put a stop to it, or whatever that is. We need to stop that, and we need to keep people aware of how we're being attacked.
Beautiful. I'm just gonna mention my own promotion that if you haven't tried uh, these products, there's a special going on right now with the buy the YH system and get Silent Nights for free. That you can go on until I think it's the 29th of June, is it? 28th of June, you can buy this Y-Age system, which is an amazing system of a glutathione patch, a carnosine patch, and an eon patch, which combats inflammation. It's similar to what I'm wearing. Let's see captions. Okay. Right. These patches do not put anything in your body. They use like Tesla technology. They use frequency. They use the frequency that you emit from your own body is echoed back, it bounces back. It hits certain crystal and lattice structures, and it bounces back. In the case of, there's a patch called X39. It stimulates stem cell production. But also, just to kind of add to what Paul is saying, we have a new machine called the X2O machine, where the inventor, David Schmidt, has figured out a patented way to infuse your drinking water with 6 wavelengths of light. So you're actually drinking with your water, you're drinking light, and it goes right into your cellular system, into your mitochondria and the like. So it is very energizing, it is very clarifying. But I think between the two systems, and we're very interested in purifying. We drink well water out here, but our problem is more, we feel like the plastics, because we can't afford a stainless steel water tank yet, but we will eventually. But so we may very well try to get our hands on a zeolite filter as well, and then you can use the X2O machine. It takes out all the microplastics. So if you're hydrating yourself with photonic light, it's pretty enlightening. And that's it. I just, call Dr. Stacy, or you could do it yourself. You could sign up yourself. If you're a brand partner, if you share the water machine, you get a nice compensation for it. So we want to share these technologies. We want to share innovation. We want to share forward thinking. We want to break down all the walls. I mean, can you imagine? Can you even think about how sick it is? I mean, I spent years in dental chairs were thinking that I was getting this great stuff, and they were putting fluoride all over my mouth. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. These are murderers. These are criminals, and they've been running our world, indoctrinating us, and harvesting our loosh, probably, ultimately harvesting our negative energies. And we are freeing ourselves by becoming aware of these things and sharing information and friendships. I mean, I love talking to Paul and Adrian. You guys are like, the super coolest people, I mean, to hang with. But let's just keep doing it, because it's this, and the idea that you have to be famous, that you're only going to get the truth from Bruce Springsteen. I'm just like, and Oprah, these idiots, these satanic idiots. So we're coming into like a new age, and I think I agree with Paul that the Republic, join the Republic. We're we're coming into a breakthrough moments where the republic is going to. President Trump talks about it all the time. It's going to catch fire one day, like kind of like everyone's waiting for the EBS. I think the EBS is really the republic, is going back to we the people, and and working together. Like they said in the Tartarian, they said people didn't think of, I'm gonna be a rich dude. They're thinking about the community. They want the whole community to be happy and successful, because what good is it if one person becomes, a mega billionaire? What is, when everyone should be a mega billionaire? And another thing that Paul, I know I'm rambling, but another thing that Paul said is about reparations, that we are going to receive all this money that President Trump is collecting. We are now going to get reparations. We're going to get paid for the injuries that these 13 bloodline families and their creepazoid parasite demonic demons that have been, and the loosh harvesters, the archons, have been doing to us. We're going to be taking back our money. It's going to be like a cool place. If you want to live off grid, man, you're always welcome to visit us up here. If you want to explore reality and the way we do it, come up for a couple of days. You can there's also tons of land for sale in my neighborhood. You could come and live with us if you have a skill and want to help us build this community out in the middle of the desert. Come join us or buy. There are lots of properties for sale in my neighborhood, if you want to call it a neighborhood. But there's just so many cool possibilities. You don't have to live off grid. You can, whatever it is that floats your boat, man, that's what you should be doing.
We're not just going to be taking back our wealth. We're going to be taking back our health. And I wanted to just put one plug in. I've been using X39 for over a year and a half. When I started it, before I started it, my left knee was clicking, like starting to go. Within less than 24 hours, it stopped. I was like, great, and then I've done the X49. I have the YH right there, and it works. It works. I had more energy. Yeah, they do work.
Well, look at Mr. Ellie there, energy, 70-something years old, and he's jumping off of buildings and almost doing backflips. And
when I was first, somebody offered me one for free, and I was like, no, I want to read about this first, because it kind of weirded me out. And then I found out what it was, and I tried it, and I was like, holy cow. Yeah, I wish I didn't wait that long.
Yeah.
But I'll vouch for it.
And truth be told, and this is something for guys who have, chronologically, I'm 71. I still feel like I'm 17 or maybe less. But this may be a little bit gross for some people, but I don't have to pee all the time. Can you,
Right.
if you're an older dude, man, this stuff is, it's a no-brainer, but it doesn't look like a regular thing, like Adrian is saying. It's not like a pill, or it just works. So yeah. So that's our plug. Do you want me to? I usually end up with a tune. Do you want me to play a tune, or
play a Tartarian tune?
All right. I think I'll play my my language of the heart song, because I feel so close to you guys. There are people you meet in your life that you're just like, you have these conversations and you never see them again. But it's like, wow, man, and I could go for years between these conversations, and then suddenly I meet somebody and and it's like this whole explosion of communication and telepathy and joy. So, it's out there, man. So I'm going to play this song, and I'm no longer playing the video that goes with it, because I don't want to have people to have preconceived ideas of what this means. Music should resonate with your own imagination. So let me play this one too.
I think all your clips are pretty good, Ellie. I've listened to them all. You're doing good, man.
Okay, well, thanks. So let's. This one went away. Okay, so something went wrong. Okay, here we go.
I surrender in the courtyard, I surrender on the street. I surrender my ambitions and the ways of deceit. Sweet surrender, language of the heart. Sweet, sweet surrender, language of the heart. I surrender to our new love on any path it takes. In the beauty of this moment, there are no mistakes. Sweet surrender, language of the heart. Sweet, sweet surrender, language of the heart. We all need to come together round the language of the heart. We all need to come together round the language of the heart. It's an easy decision, don't you know you're a musician? We all need to sing together round the language of the heart. Love is a river, fear is a stone that I skip across the water on my gentle journey home. Sweet journey home, sweet journey home. Sweet, sweet journey home, sweet journey home. We all need to come together. We all need to come together. We all need to share together round the language of the heart. It's an easy decision, don't you know you're a musician? We all need to be together. We all need to sing together. We all need to dance together round the language of the heart. We all need to feel together. We all need to dream together. We all need to know together the language of the heart.
Yes, indeed. And the three of us did that right here tonight.
Yeah.
So somebody wants to know where in Colorado you're from, Paul.
Elizabeth, Colorado.
He lives in a little town. You live up in the mountains, kind of like us, yeah?
I have a cabin up in Conifer that I'm at right now. Yep.
Cool. Well, I really enjoyed the show, and let's do it again. And thanks to everyone for coming here. We don't get usually huge. For some reason, people are. I don't know if they're shadow banning us, but I don't know what other hour or hour plus you're going to get this kind of thought streams, and so I'm just happy for whoever has come, and well, let's just keep doing it. And thanks so much for being here. Any last things you guys want to say?
I just really enjoyed the time we spent together tonight. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
I
Adrian.
love, yep, I love the time. And again, this republic is not, a cult. It is a people of diverse thoughts, diverse minds, a bunch of 5D people that are not afraid to question anything. But we will have our republic back, and we, the people, will be in charge. So that's our goal. And I appreciate Ellie. Love you to death, boy.
Cool. So may the force be with you. May you understand that you are the force, that there's no real separation between you and creation. So may source itself be with you, and let's get out there with a big smile on our face and rock the world.
You bet.